Hi, I'm Dracaenas, and ever since Vampires SMP started, I've really gotten into doing historical research for my character designs, and I think it's time to use that knowledge I've gotten and rank the accuracy of the canon VSMP skins. As a disclaimer, this video is for laughs and giggles, and I'm saying if VSMP wanted to be historically accurate, they could, but not that they should. I honestly don't think it'd make a meaningful difference if they did try to adhere to strict time and place, because honestly, there's fun in dressing however, being a little camp, and making Beyonce references. In the end, I just get a lot of fun out of talking about historical fashion, which is just what we're trying to do here. Now, I'm pretty sure VSMP is set in an ambiguously 19th or 20th century time period, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna say they're in Europe, probably Britain, and it's the start of the 19th century, so I'm accepting fashion up until 1820 and stuff before that, but I only did research from 1790 onwards, so that's what I'm going to be judging it by. Also, I am not a historian, just an artist, so if I make any mistakes in my analysis or you think you could argue a ranking a different way, I would absolutely love to hear it. Okay, that's enough exposition. Let's set the stage. So in S tier, we have Ball Knower. Basically the skin is entirely accurate, and I could wager a guess that the skin creator did research into the time period. Next up, we have Regency Maxing. The time period I'm analyzing, or the fashion is the Regency era, so that's 1795 to 1837. So if his skin is mostly accurate, I could say they're Regency Maxing. B tier is semi-convincing LARP. This is pretty self-explanatory. It basically means the skin is I guess sort of there, but maybe it's missing something, or it just looks like they're LARPing. Okay, C tier is go back in the closet. This means the skin has an idea of a concept of a potential, but they need to go back in the closet and switch some stuff out. And D tier is Slime Your Stylist. Some of the outfits here are just straight up modern clothing or fantasy, or not even close, and that is D tier, unfortunately. So first up, we have Abolish. I'm seeing this is basically a 3-piece suit, so blazer, dress pants, waistcoat, tie, waist chain, and honestly, it's giving 20s, but 1920s, not 1820s. Maybe I'm crazy, it just looks like a Mordecai cosplay. I feel like everything reminds me of him. I mean, ultimately, the pieces are there because in the 1800s, they did have, they had a coat and they had a waistcoat, but, I think the tie and the chain is just throwing me off. So I'm gonna give this a go back in the closet. Next is Appo. I had to look at her actual art for this because I kinda can't tell what's going on, but what I'm guessing is this is, a shirt, and then this is, was it a corset, but then it's attached to a skirt. These are leggings, probably because they go right up to the shoe. This is a jabbit collar, so a little frill color. This is I think it's a cape, or a little capelet. Okay, where I can give points is the waistline is an A-line, which is pretty accurate. Most dresses at the time were really right under the bust, so this is pretty good. For the jabbit collar, it's close to the cravat or the stock, which was more often worn, so it's sorta there. Otherwise, the sleeves look reasonable. The buttons would not have been seen on the dress, so I'm gonna say this is also sorry, Apple, go back in the closet. Next is Avid, and the main thing that stands out to me is that he's not wearing a coat. There's no coat to be seen. Generally at this time, they'd either have the cropped in the front and then long in the back, or I think it's called a frock coat. Basically it just goes down to the knees. He's got no coat. And I believe the standard for the time is that this white shirt thing is the quote-unquote undergarments, so he's basically running around in his underwear. I mean, I could also argue that he's too poor to own a coat. Sure, that could be an appropriate argument to make. Everything else looks fine. The waistcoat, pants with tall boots, yeah, sure. A funny little headcanon I have is that since he has that tie around his neck to cover the scratches, that kind of does look like a cravat, and I imagine that when Scott saw it, if he, knew anything about Regency fashion, he was like, oh my god, that's the ugliest cravat I've ever seen. This man is peasant incarnate, peasants are us. So I would say it's sort of there. I will excuse it because he's probably poor. This is Regency maxing. Funnily enough, this skin actually has an outfit change for every stage, unlike most of the other vampires only have tier 1 and tier 3 that's like different. But looking here, like, I don't know, it's a double-breasted waistcoat, which we definitely saw at the time. I think this is a tie, but I don't know like what the area wrap, like, is it a big like collar or something, or like a lapel? I have no idea, but like otherwise it's pretty similar to the first one. I'm just gonna say people weren't wearing like ties like we see in the modern day, so that's gonna be semi-convincing. Stage 3 looks pretty similar, except I believe this is like a proper cravat, but it's like got a little bit poking out, which sure, okay. I like the idea of, I think, frilled sleeves. Definitely if Avid was wearing a coat, they would be sticking out the ends of it. It would be really cute. But he does have a cape now. I just think there's no excuse for not having a coat. I don't mean to be a hater, but it's also semi-convincing. Now for Cleo, what stood out to me initially was this neckline, because before researching, I was actually under the impression like, oh, women probably had more, I guess, modest neckline or something like that. Absolutely not. Dress at the time did have cleavage showing. However, the necklines were usually square or they were curved and they went pretty low. So I'm gonna say for Cleo, okay, this is gonna sound nitpicky, but if this, instead of being straight across, this was 2 pixels up, that would be an accurate neckline. I would accept it. Otherwise, generally, dress at the time was like some sort of white muslin chemise, basically like a very high empire waist, and it's like white and like flowy and whatever. I think Cleo's is a little bit dark and a little bit short for that. I understand like if they're running around in the forest, they might want a shorter dress. I would say that has to be like mid shin length. Otherwise, it's a little scandalous. Also, corset goes on the inside, not the outside. And otherwise, I feel like there's also a lack of a coat, especially if the neckline was low. Women would have a sort of outerwear that was like, I guess, the shape of a dress because it just goes all the way down to the ankles, and they did not play around with that. Like, those are so cool. So that's also my main complaint. I would want Cleo to have a little bit of outerwear. So this is gonna be a Slimer style list. Now, Vampire Cleo, like now we're talking. I absolutely love this coat. It's worn off the shoulder, but I assume it's just like a normal coat. Probably more like a men's or like a more of a masculine style, but it looks good, proper length. I think this is pretty cool. Now, does it justify go back in the closet semi? I'm gonna say it still has to, it only goes 1 tier up because of the like original complaints I had. Alright, Drift. This looks like a brown trench coat, straight leg pants, belt, waistcoat. I think they have a bow tie in like the art, and then a rimless monocle. So I'm thinking people did not wear like a red bow tie like what she has right here. Instead, they would have a, as I was saying, the cravat, and it could be like tied in a bow tie, but the cravat was ultimately like white and kind of tucked into the waistcoat. Also, belts definitely were invented, but I haven't seen any art with a belt showing. Maybe it's under the waistband, but I just don't think it would make sense to have a belt showing. We have the cuff peeking out. That is good. We love to see that. And the last point I have is that she's wearing a monocle. However, at the time, I don't think monocles were very popular. They didn't get popular until like the 1830s or something. And even so, they were mainly for like really rich, like upper class men. And I know Drift is like a detective, and I know she needs to be like seeing stuff and whatever, but hear me out. Quizzing glasses. I that name sounds so funny to me because it's like, bro, who are you, the trivia bot? But like, it's a little handheld, I guess, like magnifying glass, but it's also like kind of fancy, where people would use it to like look at stuff closer. And in this case, she wouldn't be wearing it. She would probably have it like around her neck or in her pocket or something. But I feel like that would be such a cute replacement for a monocle that's like more accurate. And also, quizzing glasses were fashionable for like not just like the rich upper class. Just because a monocle, it's like more expensive to get it custom like fitted into your eye socket, and the quizzing glass is just for everyone. So I'll give this one, I like the outline, but just because of like the stuff, go back in the closet. All right, this is Vampire Drift. It's mostly the same, except I'm seeing like she's a little pale. I'm seeing a white cuff here, but the neck isn't a white cuff. I'm not sure what's going on here, and I think I still see a bow tie. So it's honestly the same. Go back in the closet. Now legs. I looked a little bit into what doctors were at the time, and basically they wore bloody frock coats. And I'm not saying bloody like a British, like they actually had blood on them, because at the time they didn't really know stuff about like PPE or like sterilization or infection or whatever. So doctors just kind of like, I think they kind of just did whatever, and white didn't really represent sterile or like cleanliness until like a good bit later. So honestly, Legs, if he were like decked out in proper doctor gear, he wouldn't look a lot different from like the other guys with like their coats and their waistcoats and whatever. Okay, I looked at the art. I think this is a collar and a black shirt underneath, which is a little bit rare, and I don't know what's going down here. Same thing with the monocle. Also, this one is rimmed, and back then, it's like having glasses was seen as like a deficit. No, not a deficit. Like an impairment, or like you're like old and can't see or something like that. So people mostly had rimless glasses, like maybe over the nose bridge or something like that. So if this monocle was replaced with glasses like that, I think that'd be pretty alright. However, I will add, for the woman's dress at the time, they kind of did wear like a white dress like this. So honestly, I love to think that he just rolled up like in a cute little flowy dress and he's like, I feel so bonita. But I just don't think that would fit with his character. This is gonna be a Slimer stylist. Alright, Martin. Okay, so Martin, he's looking a little raggedy, but I'm seeing like a long sleeve white shirt, green jabbit collar. His pants are like super high-waisted, and they also have like a little slit in the middle. And also, I'm assuming that's a buckle, but like this one's on the side, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. I know Martin's backstory is kind of like LARPing as a rich person, but like, bro, this is not a great rich person LARP. It doesn't really look like anything you'd see at the time. It's kind of unique in that sense, but I just don't think he could pass as a proper aristocrat, even for a moment. Slime your stylist. Alright, next up we have Owen, and I have things to say about this one. So initially what jumps out to me are the sleeves, like, because in his actual art he just has normal sleeve. He doesn't have like this pattern, like the lines on his sleeve, so this could be sleeve garters. In that case, instantly slimed. That's 1920s. However, since he was asleep for 200 years, that means he could have fallen asleep like 1600 and then, you know, woken up in time for VSMP. And I was actually looking at fashion from that time, and they did have slashed sleeves. That was like really in vogue. And this, like, I feel like the pattern is inverted, but honestly, I feel like that could be something like those puffy slash sleeves, which is really cool. So I think it makes a lot of sense for him to be still like carrying that 1600s style. It does seem like it could be mixed a little bit with the 1800s, because like this waistcoat, you know, it's a waistcoat, it looks 1800s, but ultimately like this shirt underneath it, maybe I'm stretching a little bit, but I think it looks 1600s. Also, at the time, there were like these really tall boots that were like kind of big for some reason, so they were like drooping and kind of wrinkly, I guess. And Owen's boots, they're a little dark, but they honestly look vaguely like that, so I will give points there. I want to say if this was a proper 1600s silhouette, he would want to have a lace collar and then lace cuffs and maybe lace on his boots as well. However, I can excuse Owen not having that because maybe it's like he, you know, since he's working class, like he doesn't want to mess up the lace serge, so just skipped it or something like that. Sure. Last but not least, something I thought was so adorable from the time is that men who wanted to like symbolize their devotion to a lover would have a lock or like a braid on the left side of their hair, because it's like closer to the heart, and this is called a love lock, and I think that is the cutest thing ever. And Owen honestly does have these two little bits in the front of his hair, so in my little headcanon stuff that I make up, he does have a love lock. He could just take this one, and whenever he gets like upset or starts thinking of Lewis, he like grabs it, he's like, oh. I think that's just adorable. I also imagine that since he has a motif of bandages, right, which are kind of to cover up past scars, I like to think that when Lewis was making his like little love lock, he tied a little bow on the end with his bandages, and I think that's just adorable symbolism of turning something purely utilitarian to hide other things into something cute and pretty, and I think that would be a really like nice addition to his character. Also, Owen's hair in general is pretty accurate to a lot of paintings I've seen at the time. Men had this wavy brown hair, it was cut at the bangs, and it was like pretty short, like neck length hair, so that honestly is pretty accurate too. I love Owen's skin and also my design for him a lot. I've got to give him our first ball knower. I think it's really cute. Same with his vampiric skin. It looks like the main change apart from color is that they're like these bat-shaped things on the end of his doublet. Otherwise it's about the same, and I love his eyeshadow, so ball knower. Next we have Pearl. We have this white shirt with a black bodice that I think is not a part of the shirt, and then it turns into a dress that's like short at the front, long at the back, like a mullet, I think. I think the top part with the white shirt is pretty okay. Dresses definitely did have this puff at the top or like ruffles at the bottom. I think that's just fine. I see like a little bit of the neck or the chest area showing, and I think this neckline is pretty alright, if not a little bit small, but sure. Now for the bodice, generally darker colored dresses were not in style, and it would just be like one long piece. If there were two pieces of the dress, it would be like, I guess like a coat over top, or like maybe a sash of a different color or something like that. And the short in the front, long in the back, you probably wouldn't have seen that. So ultimately for Pearl, I would say mainly just because of this bodice at the bottom, it's a go back in the closet. Alright, now we have Pyro, and the second I look at it, it just looks like peasant. It just screams peasant to me, and I think it's partially because of the color, but like I ain't never seen a better peasant outfit than this one. This is the frock coat, or just, long knee-length coat, shoes, long pants, which are definitely more associated with poorer people. I think this is a waistcoat, and I believe his inner shirt, instead of being like a white shirt, it's red. That's not super standard, but maybe it represents the bloodshed weighing on his chest or something like that. So I'll say this is a good peasant fit. I do like it. Now for his vampire form, I would expect him to get a little fancier. Okay, he's also so pale, so I can't tell if he's wearing a white shirt with like white cuffs or that's just his skin. I think since the red is peeking out, I think he's just wearing a red button-up underneath and then just like his cloak over top. Since he's missing the white shirt, I'm gonna take it a tier down to semi-convincing LARP, because I don't think it's fancy enough. Alright, Ren. So he has a button-up white shirt and then black pants and boots and whatever, but what I'm noticing is, first of all, I don't think button-up shirts were really a thing. Also, he has his suspenders out, and while suspenders did exist, they were invented, it's also considered part of the undergarments, and it's basically like he is definitely not fully dressed. Especially you can see a little bit of his chest here. Then again, his character is also kind of like this cryptic forest guy, so I can excuse a little bit of not dressing regularly, but bro, where's the waistcoat? Where's the coat? And also the glasses, they seem to have a rim halfway around it, and as for the glasses, I think they're usually a little bit smaller and they wouldn't have this much of a rim. I think they would just be the nose bridge thing. Because he's not fully dressed, slime is stylist. Alright, next up is Sausage. What I'm seeing is he has the long outer coat, knee length, that's perfect. He has like, I guess just straight leg pants and like tall boots. He has the waistcoat, the white shirt with the cuffs peeking out the end, which is really good. And this black stock. And also, I have seen one painting of someone with a black stock, so I think it definitely was possible. Not seen very often, but I will take it. And ultimately, like, he kind of came in clutch. He has everything. I frankly would not change very much in this. This is looking 1800s. He will actually join Owen up in Ball Knower. Now for his vampire skin, I'm seeing he has a waist chain, which, you know, we're not really a thing. He has a little bit of cleavage showing because his shirt is like hella unbuttoned. It's untucked. And I feel like it got a little shorter, like his waistcoat as a whole is a little shorter. Look, I will excuse what's going on at the neckline here because I think it's fine for his character. And also his outer coat is hella cropped, it's stopped right here. And while that was like kind of 1790s, they did have that crop going on, it still would be long in the back. And I searched up his skin and it's just cropped all the way around, which I think is so much fun, but it just wouldn't really have been seen. So it's still pretty good though. I'm gonna say it's Regency maxing. It's alright. Alright, now we got the Big Sour himself. So since Scott fell asleep in like 1200, when he woke up, he probably would still be wearing the clothes from 1200. And throughout Europe, it was literally just the blio, which is like kind of a robe, kind of a dress thing for both men and women. And while I kind of want to hold him up to that standard, I just feel like this era, like 1800s clothing is so much more vampiric. So then, let's say when Scott woke up, he was like, oh my gosh, my clothing is so last century. And then he was like, guys, don't close the border that keeps the vampires from going out. Ran out to the nearest seamstress, got a new set, and this is what he came back with. And then would this be accurate to the time period? I think it kind of looks similar to Sausage, like it has like the long coat. I do not see the cuffs poking out, and this looks like a pretty well-tied cravat. However, I'm seeing half a pixel of neck here, and the cravats are generally tied actually like around the neck, so they were like pretty high up. So the thing is, during the 800, there was like a little scuffle going on called the French Revolution, and after that, clothing went from knee breeches to like more of these longer trousers like we're seeing. But I personally think Scott, especially since other people I think called him like vintage or like old-fashioned, I think he would actually go for knee breeches, which is basically pants that stop here and then silk stockings underneath that, and then shoes that are like waist solid because you gotta show off the calf, you know? So I am nitpicking Scott a little bit, but like, I mean, this looks fine. I will give it a Regency maxing. Now, for his vampire self, I see the white inside shirt poking out. However, there is like a little ruff here. I think that makes sense. But he seems to have exchanged his coat for a cape, and I just think while they definitely did have capes, or they were more like cloaks, they were like wrapped around like more like a poncho, I think he should still have a coat. And with my own Scott like 1790s design, like he has a pretty like fun cropped like huge lapels coat. I think that would fit a little bit more. Otherwise, his little cravat has like a gem or something on it. We don't really see that very often. So ultimately, I just think it could be like a little bit more elevated, especially for stage 3 vampire. Also, this is semi-convincing. And then last but not least, we have Shelby. So I think this is just like an asymmetrical like little cape thing and like a skirt and long socks. Like, this is just modern clothing. It's not even pretending to be a little bit historical. I think that's pretty fun, but it's gonna go into Slime Your Style list. With Vampire Shelby, oh, she added the waist chain too. Same ranking, Slime Your Style list. Alright, so that was everyone. Here's the final ranking. I hope this was entertaining or even a little bit informative. Do let me know what you think of these ratings, and if you enjoyed this video, do like consider liking and subscribing if you like. But yeah, I always love yapping about historical fashion, and yeah, bye!